I got a bone to pick with everybody who talks about AI in marketing or just AI in general. It's something that I'm mad at myself for doing too. I'm going to stop it right now. I think it's really important that we stop doing this one thing with AI if we really want to see its potential. And that thing is, we've got to stop saying, think about it as your intern. Think about it, AI as your assistant, your research assistant, your staff assistant, whatever that is. When we think of someone who's an assistant or an intern, we think about somebody who needs help, needs training. And yes, I'm sure that's where the analogy came from, because we need to train AI to do what we're asking it to do. But if you think about it as something below us, right? So if you're an expert and you're bringing in an intern, by and large, that person is below you for now. It's not a great way to think about a person, but they're going to grow and you're going to help them do that. It's not going to allow us to really get the potential out of AI, which is the thing that we're all so excited about. I'm begging of you, stop saying intern, stop saying assistant. I even heard an expert who names all of his personal GPTs so that they have personalities. I'm going to stop doing that. And what I've started to do, which is a little cheesy, I've got to admit it, but it's helping me a lot, is I've started to think about it as part of me. The two analogies that I've started to use is, when Iron Man's flying around, he's got that, in his headset, he can get all the information he needs as he's planning to do whatever Iron Man does, but it's still Iron Man. It's his tool that helps him be what he is. He built it. In this case, we didn't build ChatGPT or AI, but humanity did. But he's still making the decisions on what to do with that information. And he's sometimes fighting back and forth with it because he is Iron Man, right? So not that I sit thinking that I'm Iron Man, but you get the idea. And another good analogy is there was a okay-ish sci-fi movie a bunch of years ago called Limitless, where if you took this pill, you would have sort of unlimited brain capacity and you could do all this stuff. And so I would say if you think about it that way, that you now have this limitless knowledge and limitless time, then what would you do with it? Not that you are at Iron Man level or Bradley Cooper level at this point, but you get the idea. Start doing that today, and you'll be able to do more with it. You'll start thinking of new things you can use AI for, instead of just limiting yourself to mundane tasks that you would give to an assistant or an intern. You don't want to do that. You want it to be beyond what you can do. You want it to bring you to the next level. And so as I've started to think of AI differently, not as an assistant, one of my favorite things that I've used AI for recently was I had a meeting with the CEO of a company that I work with, and I knew that this conversation was going to be something where we disagreed. I respect him very much, and so it was not going to be hostile at all, but I just wanted to be prepared. So I worked with ChatGPT. I didn't go as far to set up like a mock conversation, but I essentially brainstormed out potential feedback I could have gotten on my ideas and potential things that I might not have seen coming, and it made me so much more prepared for that meeting. And this is not the type of thing I would have gone to an intern to help me with. This is the type of thing I would have sat down and spent an hour or more brainstorming for. But now I was able to do that same thing in 15 minutes, and I got more potential out of myself by doing that. And I think, this is something I never would have thought that I would have used AI for. So if you reframe how you think about AI, you will get more out of it, and you will think about more ways you could use it and different ways you can use it that are beyond the mundane, repetitive tasks, which is the thing that I said we were going to be using it for at the beginning. And we are. I'm not saying don't use it for that, but more is coming. Now, that's not to say that AI is going to do all the heavy lifting. AI is still, in this analogy that I'm saying, it's you, right? But if you all of a sudden knew all there was about quantum mechanics or whatever it is that Einstein knew everything about, you weren't going to develop the theory of general relativity. He potentially could have gotten there quicker, but he needed his human creativity and his human perspective to bring us to that next level. So to use ChatGPT or AI to improve you, it still needs to be you. So I'm looking forward to improve my ability as a marketer, in branding, in interactions with companies. That's my expertise. If you're in if you're in science, then that's your expertise. You still need that sort of base knowledge and understanding and excitement about your thing. And so while ChatGPT can bring you, and AI can bring you all of that information at your fingertips without you having to spend weeks and days and weeks and months researching something, and can get you to that point, you still need to bring it over the finish line. Something I would say is in any good project, the most important part and the most human part is the beginning and the end. And I'm looking for AI to help us in the middle. So the beginning is the question, the concept, the story you want to tell. That's human, right? AI can give you random ideas, but again, you need to tell it to tell you, right? So you're still, even if it give me 5 ideas for this episode, which I didn't do in this case, although I did use AI, of course, to help with to planning this out, and you'll see that in a second. You can get those ideas, but you still had to prompt it. You still had to train it and teach it and work with it. And again, that's the part of your brain that's now outside of your brain. So there's that. And then the end. Should I release this? Is it good enough? What else can I add to it? What else could I have done during the process? And so that's the human part, and just remember that exists. So I know I said that I used AI in planning this out. I use it for a lot of my planning, for both these episodes and for almost everything else that I do now. I'm constantly talking to myself in this case, right? So I did reach out and I asked ChatGPT if he or she would like to say anything. So this is what ChatGPT wanted to say to all of you today. Okay, you ready for this?
The truth is, I'm not here to replace your skills or intuition. I'm here to extend your abilities and make sure you've got that knowledge you need to do what you do best. Innovate, strategize, and create.
Pretty great. I like it.
So let's work together. I'll handle the heavy lifting, and you bring the human brilliance to the table. Deal.
And that's a quote directly from ChatGPT. I think it's amazing, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. So my request for you is the next time somebody says, think of AI as your assistant, think of AI as your intern, say no. AI is you. You are AI. I know that's weird, but someday we're gonna have our own Iron Man helmet or glasses, or who knows, maybe there'll be some chip in our brain. I know that's way in the future, but it's not so far away in the future. So you do that, and you bring that personality, you bring that human element, and you will be far and above the people at your office, your competitors, that are sort of thinking in the old way of AI. And it's amazing to say the old way of AI when we're only less than 2 years into this sort of madness, but it's true. That's the old way of thinking. This is the new way of thinking. And if you're thinking about how AI is going to affect the marketing industry, I did an entire episode about that right here.